The ratings are in for Tuesday's edition of WWE NXT on the CW. Cope takes out more members of the Death Riders last night on AEW Dynamite. Konosuke Takeshita retains the International Championship. He'll face Kenny Omega at AEW Revolution. Speaking of Revolution, Ricochet will face Swerve Strickland in an AEW World Championship #1 contenders match at the upcoming pay-per-view. Mercedes Moné faces off against Billy Starks last night on Dynamite. The reason for the double title match between Julia and Stephanie Vacqua being booked has reportedly been revealed. WWE are looking to adding NXT's broadcast into WrestleMania weekend in Las Vegas. MJF has his AEW Bet on Yourself tattoo removed last night on Dynamite. TKO announces that WWE will only have one Saudi Arabia PLE in 2025, but 3 in 2026. TKO has also announced a takeover in Kansas City featuring WWE, UFC, and PBR events. They've also said that they're close to an agreement with the Saudis on a creation of a boxing league. Triple H announces that Travis Scott will be appearing at the WWE Elimination Chamber Premium Live event, plus several matches and segments have been confirmed for AEW Collision. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Let's begin with the ratings for this week's edition of WWE NXT. After falling in the ratings last week post Vengeance Day Fallout, WWE NXT bounced back this week with its February 25th episode with an in-ring NXT debut of Ricky Saints and the WWE return of the Hardys. The show saw plenty of matches set up for the Roadblock special from New York City in 2 weeks, including NXT champion Obafemi defending his gold against TNA X Division champion Moose, and NXT Women's Champion Julia set to take on Women's North American Champion Stephanie Vacqua in a double title match. According to Programming Insider, NXT and its TNA guests averaged a total of 799,000 viewers and received a 0.19 rating in the ever-important 18 to 49 demographic. Viewership was up 16% over last week's 689,000 average viewers. The show was also up 4% versus the trailing 4-week average of 771,000 viewers. As for the 18 to 49 demographic, this week was up from last week's 0.17. The average viewership for NXT so far in February 2025 is up 23% to where it was with 622,000 average viewers this time last year. Those in NXT hope to continue to hold viewers' attention as they return to the Performance Center in Orlando, Florida, before hitting the road once again. Roadblock will emanate from the theater at Madison Square Garden on March 11th. WWE has announced a few matches for next week already, including North American Champion Tony D'Angelo defending against Shawn Spears, and main roster stars Women's United States Champion Chelsea Green and Piper Niven taking on Zarya and Sol Ruka. Kalani Jordan will also go one-on-one with Jada Parker. Now, going to last night's AEW Dynamite, Cope has dispatched more members of the Death Riders. Cope's war against the Death Riders has claimed 2 more victims. On Wednesday's AEW Dynamite, Cope continued his spree of hospitalizing members of Jon Moxley's band of rebels. This time, the victims were Claudio Castagnoli and Marina Shafir, as they were the ones sent away by ambulance after Cope delivered a concerto to Castagnoli and was then joined by former AEW TBS champion Willow Nightingale, who delivered a chair shot of her own to Shafir. The group had hoped to get the better of Cope, but thanks to Nightingale and former IWGP World Heavyweight Champion Jay White, the attack was unsuccessful, and AEW World Champion Jon Moxley could only watch as his 2 compatriots were hospitalized. Cope already sent Pac to the hospital through similar means, meaning the Death Riders' active roster has dwindled to just Moxley and Wheeler Yuta, though Yuta also received his share of punishment during the brawl. Cope is set to face Moxley for the AEW World Championship at AEW Revolution on March 9th in Los Angeles, California. Now, speaking of Revolution, we now know what the AEW International Championship match will be, because Konosuke Takeshita is still the AEW International Champion, despite Orange Cassidy's best efforts in the main event of Dynamite. Takeshita will now go on to defend his gold against Kenny Omega at AEW Revolution after Omega called him out following their tag team bout at Grand Slam Australia. Cassidy was looking to become the first ever 3-time international champion in the company, but it wasn't his night. Before the match got started, Takeshita gently took off Cassidy's glasses and tore them apart. Cassidy pulled out another pair and the champion took him out and took the glasses once again and gave them to Don Callis, who was on commentary. The pair went back and forth with hard strikes until they spilled over the top rope. Cassidy ended up on the announce desk and was able to get his hands in his pockets and hit a beach break, sending Takeshita through the desk. They got back into the ring at the last second and Cassidy hit an orange punch, but Takeshita rolled out of the ring. Cassidy hit him with a dive and then a DDT, but got distracted by Callis at ringside. Cassidy went up top, but Takeshita caught him with an elbow strike. Cassidy immediately followed up with Stun Dog Millionaire, and the two went back and forth in a wild final sequence of the match, trading big counters. Takeshita hit a Falcon Arrow on Cassidy for the victory. He mocked Omega after the match, hitting his signature pose as Dynamite went off the air. Now, another big match has been confirmed for AEW Revolution. The AEW roster is set to take over the City of Angels in just over 2 weeks' time. And on Wednesday's episode of AEW Dynamite, yet another high-profile match got added to the Los Angeles-based card. Swerve Strickland is now set to take on Ricochet come March 9th, with the winner walking out as the #1 contender for the AEW World Championship. Strickland opened Wednesday's segment to acknowledge his recent loss of focus on the world title, but he reassured San Diego that he was still the man around AEW and expressed his desire to eventually wear gold around his waist. Strickland then turned his attention to arguably his biggest distraction from the world title scene, Ricochet, and his possession of Nana's golden robe, which Ricochet infamously stole on the February 5th episode of Dynamite. Despite Nana's demands, Ricochet has refused to give the robe back. Quote, "Ricochet, you say me and you are done and you're moving on to bigger and better things," Strickland said. "No, we're done when I say we're done." Now, Ricochet cut off Strickland immediately after, with Nana's embassy jacket cloaked over his plaid suit. Ricochet questioned Strickland's intelligence over a sea of San Diego boos and reiterated his desire to leave behind his and Strickland's feud in order to search for gold, namely the AEW World Championship. Nana ultimately came to Ricochet with the proposition signed off by Tony Khan. The winner of a rematch between Strickland and Ricochet would be the #1 contender for the AEW World Championship. Ricochet acquiesced, but demanded that his rematch with Strickland take place at AEW Revolution. Now, we saw a surprising appearance last night on AEW Dynamite from Billy Starks. Now, the February 26th edition of AEW Dynamite featured a big crossover as Ring of Honor star Billy Starks appeared in a backstage segment with Mercedes Moné. Moné attempted to treat the former champion like garbage, spilling water in her face. Starks responded with fire, telling Moné that she knows exactly who she is. Starks proceeded to call Moné a narcissistic bitch before Momo Watanabe approached the CEO from behind with a bat. Watanabe ended the segment by chasing Moné off and telling the world she plans to win the AEW TBS Championship at AEW Revolution. Now, this was Stark's first televised appearance on AEW television in nearly 2 years, as she last appeared for the company at a Battle of the Belt special in April 2023. Now, going back to NXT, an interesting and surprising high-stakes match was made for the upcoming Roadblock special, but now we may know why. There are various reports that an NXT champion is injured, and that's why a double title match was booked for Roadblock. On Tuesday's show, NXT General Manager Ava announced that at Roadblock in 2 weeks, NXT Women's Champion Julia and Women's North American Champion Stephanie Vacqua will face off in a match where both their titles will be on the line. On Wednesday, Brian Alvarez said on Wrestling Observer Live that he was initially confused on why the match was booked, but then learned that one of the women is banged up and needs time off. Alvarez didn't confirm who was injured, so to not spoil the results, but Ibo of South Made and Wrestle Purist confirmed on X that Julia is hurt, but is going to work the match at Roadblock. PW Insider also reported that Julia is dealing with an injury, but the outlet had not confirmed the nature of the injury at the time. PW Insider also confirmed that she would work the Roadblock match. Julia won the NXT Women's Championship from Roxanne Perez at New Year's Evil on January 7th. She successfully defended her gold against Perez, Bayley and Cora Jade at Vengeance Day. The match against Vacqua will be her second title defense. Now, speaking about NXT, WWE, of course, is on the road to WrestleMania, and every year the event seems to get bigger and bigger. Now it appears WWE could be adding one more night to the sprawling weekend of events. According to PW Insider, WWE is having internal discussions about including the April 22nd edition of WWE NXT into the Las Vegas weekend. WWE is already presenting SmackDown, the WWE Hall of Fame ceremony, NXT Stand and Deliver, both nights of WrestleMania 41, and the Raw after WrestleMania in the city, with WrestleMania taking place at Allegiant Stadium, while the rest of the events will take place at the T-Mobile Arena. NXT isn't being considered for the T-Mobile Arena. Instead, the show would likely emanate from the UFC Apex complex. NXT has run the arena in the past, and WWE, sharing the TKO Group Holdings umbrella with UFC, would make the booking of the venue easy. The publication organization notes that other venues in the area are also being considered. NXT has been touring more as of late, with recent shows taking place in Atlanta Center Stage, the Lowell, Massachusetts Lowell Memorial Auditorium, and last week's show at the Andrew J. Brady Center in Cincinnati, Ohio. The show normally broadcast from the WWE Performance Center in Orlando, Florida, but of course NXT is currently focused on the upcoming Roadblock event, which will take place at the theater at Madison Square Garden on March 11th. Now, going back to Dynamite last night, and MJF had some tattoo removal surgery. Now, former AEW World Champion MJF made his return to AEW back at last year's Double or Nothing pay-per-view event, where he announced that he had signed a new contract with the company. Upon his return, MJF revealed a new tattoo he got on his leg, featuring the AEW logo and the words, "Bet on yourself." In recent weeks, MJF has begun a feud with Hangman Page on Dynamite, where he has called out the fan support for Hangman after all the heinous acts he has committed on the show in recent months, including burning Swerve Strickland's house down and retiring Christopher Daniels. With the fans turning their backs on MJF in favor of Hangman, MJF appeared to kick off last night's Dynamite show, where he was shown getting his AEW logo tattoo laser removed earlier in the day. MJF and Hangman are set to face off at AEW Revolution next Sunday in Los Angeles, California. Now, some big TKO news here. Now, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is getting the 2026 Royal Rumble, seemingly showing an evolution to the relationship between the Middle Eastern Kingdom and WWE. While Saudi Arabia will be hosting one of the big four PLEs next year, in 2025, the company is temporarily pulling back on the Saudi shows. In the Q4 earnings call, TKO Group Holdings CFO Andrew Schleimer said that the company would only be putting on one PLE in Saudi Arabia in 2025, but then there would be three in 2026, including the Royal Rumble. It has not been announced when the 2025 Saudi Arabian PLE will take place, nor has the date of the 2026 Royal Rumble been announced just yet. Schleimer said that fewer Saudi PLEs in 2025 will have an unfavorable impact on the company's revenue to the tune of $55 million. Until 2025, WWE had run two PLEs in the kingdom per year since the beginning of a deal between the company and the Saudi General Sports Authority in 2019. WWE has increased the number of international PLEs in recent years, where Saudi Arabia used to be the sole location for non-North American international PLEs. The company has since held events in Scotland, Wales, Paris, Berlin, Perth, and the US territory of Puerto Rico. WWE is set to return to Paris on August 31st for Clash in Paris at the Paris La Défense Arena, which is the only other international PLE announced for the year outside of the March Elimination Chamber event in Toronto and the yet-to-be-announced Saudi show. Now, speaking of TKO, they've announced a big Kansas City takeover later on this year. While WWE is one of its centerpieces, TKO Group Holdings has its hands in a lot of pots, including the UFC and the professional bull riders. So far, in TKO's short history, the three entities haven't crossed paths at the same time, even though there has been some synergy between WWE and UFC. That will change come April, when TKO looks for all three of its properties to be the apple of Kansas City, Missouri's eye. In a press release, TKO announced that they'll be holding three events at Kansas City's T-Mobile Center between April 24 and April 28. The festivities will kick off with the PBR, followed by a UFC Fight Night, and concluding with WWE Raw. The shows are a result of an agreement between TKO and the Kansas City Sports Commission. Quote, Kansas City has collectively hosted dozens of UFC, WWE, and PBR events over the years, and it has become a top destination for each of these respective promotions, TKO EVP of Event Development and Operations Peter Dropkick said in a statement. This is a unique opportunity to showcase these three premier properties in one city at the same time for the benefit of fans and visitors to the area. We thank the Kansas City Sports Commission and the management at T-Mobile Center for making this possible. On WWE's end, TKO's stay in Kansas City will come at a unique time for the promotion, serving as the second Raw to take place following WrestleMania 41 on April 19th and 20th. As a result, the Kansas City Raw could serve as an important indicator of the Red Brand's direction throughout 2025. Now, speaking of TKO, they've got their fingers in a lot of pots, a lot of pies, and they could be getting into even more. On January 8th, the New York Times reported TKO and the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund were reportedly close to creating a new boxing league. During the 2024 TKO earnings call, TKO COO Mark Shapiro confirmed the two sides are close and offered more insight. He said, quote, "We are close on an agreement with the Saudis on the creation of a boxing league where we, TKO, would be the producer, the promoter, and responsible responsible for all the day-to-day operations of the venture, whereby we would receive a fee of $10 million plus. We're not putting capital in. Additionally, we would have some earning equity over time, specifically over a 5-year period, but it would be dependent on us achieving certain milestones, including us exceeding board approval annual budgets over those 5 years. We just sent a delegation to London to meet with the Saudi delegation, led by Andrew Schleimer, our CFO, Nick Khan, who runs WWE, and Lawrence Epstein, who runs UFC. They had a full-day meeting earlier in the week, and we're getting close. When we have something official, it'll come out. We would be the promoter, producer, and event operator of 4 large-scale super fights that would air, probably 2 this year and 2 in 2026. Those may not fall into the boxing league itself. They may just be one-offs, but we would be paid a fee to act as the promoter, producer, and event operator. Now, UFC President Dana White has long expressed his desire to enter the world of boxing and recently said he has a plan to enter the sport as a promoter. Saudi Arabia has hosted many big boxing fights in recent years, including both Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk bouts. Now, going over to Elimination Chamber, of course, it's this weekend. We will be live for a watch-along, so be sure to join us this coming Saturday. And WWE Chief Content Officer Paul Triple H Levesque has announced a celebrity guest for Saturday's Elimination Chamber event. The 2025 Elimination Chamber event will take place this Saturday in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and a major celebrity guest has now been announced for the show. Travis Scott has made numerous appearances for WWE, including at the WWE Raw Netflix premiere on January 6th, and his song Fiend is the theme song for this year's WrestleMania event. However, before WrestleMania, Travis will be in attendance at this Saturday's Elimination Chamber Premium Live event, as announced by Triple H on social media. Taking to X, Triple H announced that Travis would be at the Elimination Chamber, sharing a video from WWE headquarters, and the caption saying, quote, "WWE Chamber is going to be massive. Travis, see you in Toronto. Let's effing go." Now, finally, several matches and segments have been confirmed for AEW Collision this coming weekend on TNT. The show will feature a big championship contest as Daniel Garcia will defend the TNT Championship against Adam Cole. Garcia and FTR competed against Cole, O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong in trios action on Wednesday's AEW Dynamite. The trios bout will also be followed up in a separate match with FTR facing Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong. In addition to that, fans will get to hear from former AEW World Champion Kenny Omega. AEW will also provide an update on timeless Tony Storm following Mariah May's vicious attack last week. In addition to that, Powerhouse Hobbs and Bandido are also set to team up on the show. In a post on X, AEW shared a video in which Powerhouse Hobbs challenged Big Bill and Brian Keith to a match on the March 1st episode of AEW Collision. He stated he would not be coming alone, as he'd have Bandido by his side. Bandido said he wanted to send a message to Ring of Honor World Champion Chris Jericho. AEW later officially announced the match. But there you go, guys. Latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right-hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right-hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.